evening, everybody, and welcome to RVing in New England. And we left all four screens up today because since I'm the better looking of the two, I thought you'd rather see me first, but I give John credit to let him stay up. And our special guest tonight is Mark Koep with Campground Views. Mark, before I get to you, John, you're out on the road. You're out having a little fun in the Winnebago Vita.
In fact, Bob, what I'm doing is I am actually RVing in New England.
You are?
Brand new Winnebago Vita. I'm going to move this camera so you can see a little bit of it.
You are so clever, John.
And, I'm not just a technical wizard. So, there's the kitchen area there. One of the bedroom areas there, the bathrooms back there, the refrigerator, the stove, the giant TV that's there. Then you got bedroom up top. And you know what? We're checking it out for our friends at Winnebago. And you're going to get it soon. But more importantly than that, and I know Mark and I are going to talk about this because we talked about it before we went on the air. I went ATVing today and lived to tell about it. So we found the place up here in Pittsburgh, New Hampshire. Anybody who knows anything about New England, and I'm sure, I guess, maybe Jerry's been here or Audrey's been here. It is the most northern town in the state of New Hampshire, and we are 10 miles from Canada, and we're going moose hunting. Well, not hunting. We're going moose viewing tomorrow. Actually, as soon as this show is over tonight at 8 o'clock, we're going to jump in this Winnebago Vita, and everybody said that moose are best seen at dusk and dawn. But the ATV thing, our friend Lewis, who actually owned a bunch of gas stations in Worcester, lives up here now and has this company called Trailside Rentals. And we did some videos of being out. Mark, you ever been out on a ATV?
I have been on an ATV, a side-by-side, and we've actually been up into New Hampshire searching for moose ourselves, too.
Ah, okay.
So I'm going to get to Mark. Let me quickly see. We get some early joiners. Jerry Plant's always there early. Hi, Jerry. He's down at Cape Cod. Ed Laturco, you're early tonight. Great to see you. You might get the whole show tonight. Kathy Wheeler, good evening. Maria is on. Hi, Maria. Audrey's on. She's early tonight, too. Maria says, hey, you can see them on my front lawn.
What, those plastic?
What town? We don't want to give the address, Maria. We'll have everybody in the world going to your front lawn. You get moose on your front lawn? I mean, I understand reindeer and maybe a black bear every now and then.
Well, who does she complain to about the droppings?
Yeah, who has to clean it up? Hey, look at. Let me introduce. I'm going to let him introduce himself. But Mark Koep, and we've known Mark for a long time, and he's the founder of Campground Views, and hopefully some of you people use that site, and we're going to tell you how you can be contributing to that site.
I used it to find this campground that we're at right now.
Great. Mark, give us a little history. You got some stuff to talk about.
Yeah, my name is Mark Koep. Our business is campgroundviews.com, and this background's not fake. I'm currently outside of Capitol Reef National Park. My wife and I have been full-time RVers for 11 years, and it was through those RVing travels that we decided that there had to be a better way to find campgrounds and RV parks, and we built campgroundviews.com with the sole purpose of allowing people to actually see what the campgrounds look like. So we have over 35,000 photographs, 3,000 videos, and we're working on something pretty special utilizing 360 video with some augmented booking experiences. So you can actually virtually tour the campground, see the sites, and then book those sites within that 360 experience, actually solving the biggest problem in RVing is what the heck am I going to get myself into? So we live the lifestyle, and we built this business around it.
Mark, I think the important thing that you should tell people is that all the reviews are not written by professional reviewers, but they are written by people who have actually been to the campground. And I think that's so important because they're not trying to write a good review because the person's a big advertiser. They want to write the review that should be written to, be legitimately honest and open and right.
And we actually moderate reviews too. Like if you guys run businesses, work with them, you know how people get pissed off and they try to blackmail the park and say, I'm going to go write negative reviews everywhere I can. Well, you can, but you're not going to be seeing those on campgroundviews.com because our goal, our ideal goal is that when somebody finds a campground on our website and they go to that campground, it's exactly what they thought it was going to be. And they have the exact experience that they thought they were going to have. That's the ideal experience. We actually believe that if you get the right camper in the right campground, at the right time, in the right equipment, that's how you grow our industry. Okay,
so let me ask you this question. How do you go about vetting the reviews to check whether they're legit or not? Because with 16,000 reviews, that's a lot of checking.
Yeah, one by one. So like if we get a really nasty review on a park, for example, we'll call the park and we'll say, hey, we just got a really nasty review and said you guys have bed bugs in the RVs and you're putting cockroaches on people's porches. Is that true? And we'll see actually, we've actually, and I'll be honest, you can call somebody and you know them when you talk to them. We've actually left some of those reviews go because after speaking with the owner, we're like, wow, that review was actually pretty nice for how pleasant that person was on
the phone. And Walter Swenson's on. Walter, was that you? I can't picture Walter giving a negative view. Well, then again, I can picture him.
Yeah.
Julie Bennett is in the house.
Hey, Julie, how you doing?
She wants to see if you're going to be as good as they were on the show, Mark. So she's just checking you out to see how you're doing. Jason Cole. Jason Cole is on. Mark, give us a little background in terms of, because you are a full-timer. So were you into Campground Views before you were full-time? I know you were working in the web and the internet stuff. So tell us about the crossover, how you get into it, and tell the story about buying the rig.
Yeah, so I'll actually go back in time. So 2005, I graduated from Pepperdine University with an MBA, and I had used a student loan to go there, and I had $5,000 left in that student loan, and I used it to start my first business, a company called Optimized Image. And at the time, Google had just launched their maps. You know, the icons, when you do a Google search and you see the icons with the map, they had just launched that. And I was like, oh my God, that's genius. That's going to replace the yellow pages. And I thought it through a little bit more. And I said, you know what? Most small businesses don't get the web. They're not going to know how to use that. So Optimized Image actually helped small businesses get to the top of Google Maps. And we had a process in place where we could take any business and in 3 weeks have them into the top 3 places. That business became the largest local SEO firm in the country. We had thousands of clients nationwide, completely virtual. And so fast forward a few years, it's now 2009, and my wife and I had a conversation about what would we do if we had all the money in the world. We didn't. And we both easily said, well, we would travel. And so I said, well, we could buy an RV and travel around for a little bit. And she said, nah, that's crazy. I'm not going to do that. And about 6 months later, she came back and she said, that crazy idea you had, I'm actually interested in it. A year later, we sold everything, bought the RV. So this was June 9th, 2009. We sold everything we owned. So that's the financial crisis, right? Back in 2009, we bought our first pickup truck, which was a 3500 series Dodge for $19,000. And we bought our first fifth wheel used for $19,000. We'd budgeted $80,000, but it's the crisis. So we traveled everywhere we wanted. And it was about 2 years in, the cell phones now had cameras on them, and we were using the traditional sites, Google, RV Park Reviews, all that to find campgrounds. And those are primarily review-based sites where you read the reviews and then you have to find out who wrote it, what their other reviews were like. Are they nuts? You start doing all these tea leaf reading to see
are they nuts?
Yeah, you start doing all this tea leaf reading to see if the park is actually right. We kept showing up at places, and the parks were nice, but the park right next door was $5 cheaper and nicer. And I kept saying, man, if only one of these sites would start letting people post videos and pictures, it'd be awesome. And then that was where this crazy idea came out. And so we said, hey, let's build it. It's any entrepreneur's idea is like, oh, it's going to be easy. We'll start it, no problem. And that was where the idea came from. And it took us about 3 years to build the database. So you can't even buy a database at campgrounds and RV parks. We actually had to build it by hand, city by city, state by state, build our database. And so we started there first because we know the first thing you're going to do, you're seeing that, you're going to go to campgroundviews.com right now and you're going to search the city you know. If we don't have the campground that you know is there, you're never going back to the site. So we had to make sure our data was absolutely rock solid.
Mark, 2 things. Number one, somebody asked where you were there. Can you just turn your? Oh, look at there.
There we go.
Actual picture. The person behind you is moving.
Yep.
Hopefully they won't drive right into you and we'll have our first death on camera.
Yeah, it's kind of misleading. This camera looks like he's going to run me over.
Yeah, he did that on purpose to prove that it wasn't a virtual background because we questioned him on it when he came on earlier.
Okay.
I'm in a town.
When I go live, take your rig and just drive down the street for me, will you?
Yeah, I'm actually a little afraid right now. I don't know what he's going to do. But I'm in Torrey, Utah, Torrey. It's outside of Capitol Reef National Park. Absolutely beautiful. And it's not really fair to the park that we're at here. They've been fuller, but they emptied out earlier, and they're going to fill up again this afternoon. So we should see people pulling in as we're talking.
Okay. So, Mark, Bob and I and everybody else in this industry have been talking for the last 6 weeks that RVs are the hottest commodity in the U.S. right now, okay? Which means record numbers of people are getting into RVing. I was at Flag RV not too long ago last week when I picked up this Winnebago Vita, and the one of the owners told me that 90% of the RVs that they've sold in the last month have been first-timers, so no trades. So it's good and bad because people want to, experiment possibly with a used one, or pre-owned. I guess that's the automotive word. So you got all these new people. They kind of need you now, don't they?
They do. And these new people are different than the new people we had last year, in which they never planned on going RVing. They didn't research. They didn't follow the blogs. All they had is they were stuck at home in COVID going, how the heck do we get out of the house? The only thing they had to do was buy an RV, and they're out on the roads. And I can tell you that I'm seeing them out on the road. So we were at Grand Canyon. We were at Zion. We were at Bryce Canyon, and then here. And those are the big loop, right? The Grand Loop on the West Coast. That's it. And the RVers are new, and they're not getting the information they need. For example, I saw a guy pulling in a brand new Class A gas coach into a gas station. He pulled up to the diesel pumps, realized he didn't have a diesel, and immediately swung it hard left like he was driving a car and took out the island with the diesel on it, completely sideswiped the entire side of the brand new coach. Didn't stop. Continued going, went over to the gas pumps, filled up his rig, and then pulled out in the street, dropped his muffler as he pulled off and went down the highway. And it's just like, what was that? But I can attest to you that we're seeing that. We run a Facebook group with over 1,900 RV park and campground owners. This July 4th weekend, over 90% of them are sold out. And a large portion of those RVers are brand new ones. And so what the owners are saying is, and they're seeing it, the folks are buying the RV sight unseen. They don't know how to back it in. They don't know how to park it. They don't know how to hook it up. And so that's an additional strain on the parks because you need to create that experience for them, right? If the person doesn't know how to hook up sewer, now the park owner takes on that burden. If they do a bad job, it creates a bad experience. So we are going through those growing pains right now.
Well, Julie's watching the guy back up behind you. Says, I really hope the guy backing up doesn't mess up his park. That would be embarrassing to capture on the show for all to see. Actually, he's the one behind you. He looks like he's doing pretty well, though.
If you remember, Julie's back to her Hit the Road Summit. They were doing that live stream, and somebody crashed the rig right behind them. So it would be fitting if it happened right now too.
That's right. When they were doing it, that's right. Jerry says the newbies will be hitting the big popular parks. I think that's but there's a lot.
But no, I actually
let me let Mark answer that.
No. Yeah, so it's interesting because I've seen this. So we're actually out visiting a lot of Forest Service campgrounds. And the shocking thing is the amount of people not staying in the Forest Service campgrounds, but actually staying dispersed in the forest. For example, in Arizona, outside of Sedona area, up in the Mongolian Rim, or however you pronounce that, up on the rim there. The campgrounds are full, the ones that are open, but they've closed most of the campgrounds. But all of the dispersed camping is completely packed, and it's new RVers, and they're finding these places online, and they're going to them. The thing there is as an industry, we need to ask, is that the right place to be sending new campers? Is that fair to the Forest Service? Is that good use of our land? Is that good use of our space? Because more and more manufacturers, I'm not knocking it, I'm just saying what it is, are building units with lithium batteries and solar, and they're able to go off the grid for a full week. But if your campers then take it off the grid for a full week, they stay out in the middle of the forest and they don't take care of that space. What does that do to us long term?
Well, I did a guest appearance with Mark on his park management owner Facebook page. And we talked about that, and we talked about the dealer's role in that, and we talked about it on the show here, a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, that everybody has to take an extra step on the education process. And Walt had a good comment a few weeks ago. I mean, RVers by nature are very friendly, very good people. So if they see somebody getting in trouble, they're going to go over and try to help out and give them that education. But, we do have people driving off the lots with a minimum amount of education. And, that's where we always promote, Mark Koep's book and Julie and Mark's book. Is there are books out there that these people should have and have in their possession. But it's going to be an issue, and it's going to be a critical issue from the standpoint that we can't piss off all these new people. They're going to be in and they'll be out of this industry as quickly as they jumped in the last 2 months.
Bob,
go ahead, John.
An absolutely excellent point, and I think we've discussed this in prior years. There is a double-edged sword to this growth with RVing so quickly, is that number one, you're selling the units. But number two, if the people that are buying them are not satisfied with them, they're not satisfied with the quality, they're not satisfied with the campgrounds, they're not satisfied with, hooking up the trailer to the truck, that type thing, then it's all going to come crumbling down just as fast as it built up.
Yeah. Jason says, I tried getting a group of sites in 4 different campgrounds in our area, and everyone was sold out. So this is going to be an interesting weekend. I came back from Maine today, and I'm going back up tomorrow. And Maine wasn't that busy this week. Now we're going into the weekend. I will say, coming back from Maine today, there was a ton of RVs heading north. I mean, a ton. I mean, we haven't seen this kind of traffic with RVs, since the pandemic started. I mean, it was one of those days when, every other vehicle was a fifth wheel or a motorhome or something else. So there's a lot of activity heading north.
Interestingly, we did not see a lot of RVs on our 200-mile trip from Worcester up to here.
Well, you're in the middle of John. You're in the middle of nowhere. What the hell did you think you were going to see?
Yeah, but the thing that Mark, see what I have to deal with. I'm just going to forget it. I'm going to do my own show. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to RVing with Johnny D.
He's in the middle of nowhere.
Is that all the parks up here? Now, granted, they're not 1,000-unit places like Bailey's, but all the parks are full. So people are out there. Now, Mark, I want to ask you a question. As we watch that bunkhouse try to pull in behind you, have you seen marriages strained when couples attempted to help each other backing a trailer into a spot?
Yeah, it's funny. I give seminars at some of the shows on your first RV trip. And so my advice is it's what we do. We actually have walkie-talkies. So she has a walkie-talkie. Yeah. A lot of folks will use cell phones, but there's a delay in cell phones. So as she says, stop, he crashes into the rock and says, what the hell? And then he hears stop on the phone. So the walkie-talkies are faster. But in our full-time travels, I've personally only seen one really bad case, and it was in Pennsylvania. So I guess, would that count as New England? Not really. It's kind of next to New England, but it was in Pennsylvania. We were at this RV park, and we were there for a week. And there was this beautiful brand new Class A diesel pusher, absolutely beautiful. All the bells and whistles, really nice. But the gentleman spent all day outside. And on like the third day, I finally walked over and introduced myself, and we got into conversation. I said, hey, what's up? I've noticed you've been outside all day long. And he went into the story, and apparently he and his wife were professionals, really high-end professionals. They worked their own careers. They came home and ate dinner, slept, went back to work. Their plan was to retire, buy an RV, and hit the road. Well, they did that. They retired, bought an RV, and hit the road. But it turned out they found out that in their careers, they liked each other because they were never around each other. But the second they got into that small space, they discovered that they absolutely hated one another. Yeah. He was stuck outside. She was in the rig while they figured out what they're going to do with the divorce. That was the saddest story I've ever heard. But it is real. It's a question people need to ask if they're going to go RVing is, can I actually live in an RV with this person and not actually kill him?
Yeah. Well, mine wasn't quite as deep as you said it. My question was, when you see the wife backing up the husband, and the husband is yelling, I can't see you. And then she's yelling, stop. And then you hear the crunch of either fiberglass or metal against a tree or another pickup truck or something. But I'm sure that that's true as well. So Julie had asked, what is the new RV? And there it is right there. It is the Winnebago Vita, V-I-T-A. And it is an entry-level diesel. It comes in the price point above the Mini Winnie, but below the View and Navion. And
what kind of fuel economy do you get with that thing?
You know, this one is brand new. It's only got 1,000 miles on it, so I was getting 14 today.
That's good.
Okay. Now,
yeah, John didn't buy that, by the way. For those that don't know the story, we had that on loan from Winnebago for a couple of months for John and I to drive it around and play with it. So he's got it first, and he's been getting it all tested out and making sure it's going to be perfect when I get it. So.
Well, and because it's a loaner, is that 14 miles per gallon because you've been doing like 85 with it?
Well, you know,
John doesn't do 85 in a race car. Let me tell you.
Here's the thing, Mark. It's interesting you bring that up. And when we talked about the new RVers that are out there, I was accused of going too slow by the other couple that was with us. But when you get this new Mercedes chassis, is totally different than the RV that we have, which is also a Mercedes Sprinter. This drives like a car. More so than a truck. And there are times when I look down on the speedometer, I'm doing 55 when I think I'm doing 65. And then I look down, I'm doing 75 when I should be doing 65. So there is that learning curve that you have when you're driving something new, even though I've been driving them for 15 years. So I guess that's my cue, right, Bob?
That's your cue.
Okay. The cue is this. Here it is. Folks, we want to thank you so much for those of you that are joining us on the live show right now, and ask that you just take a look at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, and there's a little button that says share. And share that with someone who's just getting into RVing, somebody who's considering getting into RVing, or somebody who's been an RVing veteran, because no matter how long you've been in this business, and I think Bob and Mark would both agree, there's always something more to learn with all the new products that are coming out. So the beauty of the show tonight is that our guest is telling us how to utilize our RVs in the best possible way, because the worst thing you want to do is to have a bad experience at a campground. And you can eliminate those bad experiences by checking out campgroundviews.com prior to your next trip.
Yeah,
how's
definitely.
that?
Yeah, that's a really good plug. You know, the big talk in the industry has always been a lack of campsites, and I'd actually argue it's different than that. The real lack is information about campsites. So a lot of folks will think about Yosemite or Yellowstone or whatever, and they'll think, well, I have to stay on Yosemite floor, and there's only 4 campgrounds on the Yosemite floor. Of course, they're going to be sold out. But what they don't realize is that if you search a 50-mile radius around Yosemite, there's something like 123 campgrounds within 50 miles of Yosemite, and there's some really amazing places. So the trick is to open up your search parameters. And I showed you guys my rig a little earlier. We have a 44-foot triple axle fifth wheel.
Turn your camera around. Show that.
I'll give you a look. So this is our unit, a big 44-foot fifth wheel, no stickers on it. And then that's our truck, 3500 series Dodge Ram. And the thing that blows people's minds is that I do not have advanced reservations. Look at my background. Look at that view. I booked this the morning I came here, and that's using our site. So the trick is I'm not stuck on a particular campground. I'm stuck on a destination, and then I find a place that fits our need around that area.
Explain how somebody does that with Campground Views, Mark.
So for example, let's use Capitol Reef. What I would do is go to Campground Views on the homepage there. Just enter Capitol Reef National Park. A drop down will pop. Click the name that matches and click search, and you're going to see a radius pop up with a whole bunch of locations on there. There's some filters. So say you need something with full hookups, click a filter for sewer, for example. That'll give you some full hookups, and then you start looking at those parks. The trick there is then you have to do a little bit of homework. You'll have to either go on their website and check the reservations or call them. In our case, we find that calling usually works best, and then from there you can find some campgrounds.
Well, you mentioned when we were talking before that one of the tricks that you do is you will call the morning of, because people check the website 2 or 3 days in advance. There's no reservations. They give up and they think they're going to do something else. But explain what you do. You call.
I call the morning of, and this happens 9 times out of 10. 1 time out of 10, this won't work, but 9 times out of 10, it does work. I'll call them the morning of, and the trick is the tone of your conversation, the way you approach the owner. Realize that the owner is stressed out. They got a bunch of people checking in. They don't have time for you. So I'll just call, hey, I'm wondering if you got any sites that opened up today. Let me, they're frustrated. I don't know. Well, I'm patient. Just let me hold here. And they'll, okay, thank you. And they'll put you on hold. And then they'll come back on in a different mood. And they're like, okay, what are you looking for? I'm like, well, it's a weird one, but I have a 44-foot rig, and I'm wondering if anything opened up today. You know what? I literally just got off the phone with a cancellation. I'm going to put you in our best site. It's right here, and I'll give you – would you have AAA? Yep. Perfect. You're in that site. We'll see you today.
Mark,
9 times out of 10, that's my conversation.
Case in point of what you just said, especially now in the COVID situation where people are changing their plans at the last minute. Audrey Foley-Egan said, who's one of our regulars, she said, we were scheduled to be in D.C. this weekend, but now we're in Rhode Island. Now, I don't know why she canceled, whether it was COVID related or something else, but we were going to the Great Smoky Mountains, to the most popular national park in the United States. But my wife is checking the health statistics and said we really shouldn't go there this year. So
I am curious as to why Audrey changed, because when I get the rig, I'm thinking about going down to Washington. We haven't been there for a while. So I'm curious if you did it because of COVID, Audrey, or if something else came up, or you wanted to stay closer to home.
Well, she can't speak to us, but she can type if she's there. So, Mark, you got to admit, you've been on a lot of shows, right, talking about your product. But this is probably one of the most fun ones, because you got a handsome guy like me and an old guy like Zagami to show that people over 80 can still be functional adults. But we have an absolutely phenomenal studio audience, including the gadget guru, Andy Park, who spent many years on the Today Show. Andy just checked in. Oh, okay.
Did you check in?
Yeah, Andy said, I'm late, but I'm here. Okay.
Hey, Andy, all right. Really?
And
nice.
Audrey just wrote back, Bob, totally due to COVID.
Oh, don't tell Audrey. Don't tell my wife that. I want to go to Washington.
Yeah. So,
well, John actually. So I've been on your show. This is the second time I've been on your show. I've enjoyed it every time. But a little side story. When we first started Campground Views, when we first went public, one of the first people in the industry to reach out to me was actually John. John reached out to me and said, I like what you're doing. I see what you're building here. I think it's a really good idea. Continue to connect with me as the years go on. So, to you, John, you did reach out really early. We connected really early on. You were one of the nice people I ran into early on who was supportive of the idea. So I've always appreciated that.
Well, thank you so much. And you know what? I'd say 99.9% of the people that you run into around the RV, camping, motorhome, travel, whatever you want to call it, the outdoor entertainment industry are nice, regular people with no baloney. And you know what? And at the campground, like where we're situated, we can't see a lot of others. But when I drove by earlier, there are a lot of travel trailers, but they have their family cars with them, and some of them are Cadillacs, and some of them are, pickup trucks with one fender a different color than the rest of them.
Hey, Scott Nichols is on. Hi, Scott. Hey, Mark. We talked briefly before the show. Explain to people, because as you can see, we got a very knowledgeable audience. I mean, these guys are good Sam people. They're escapee people like Julie and Andy. They've been around the block.
And some have just escaped.
Yeah. Explain to people, because I checked what you're looking at on the bottom right that's not all the campgrounds in New England. If you look within those red circles, there's numbers. So in that area, so like in southern Maine, there's like 14 in one and 17 in another. So you got all these campgrounds, but I looked and I looked at Bailey's. We recently have done some work up at Bailey's. And you only had one review, and that's probably the best campground in Maine. Now, Mark Koep cannot be everywhere, but we know, and I know from our audience, how does our audience engage with you? And are there restrictions on who can rate them, or how many they can rate them, or what are you looking for?
So when you go to Campground Views and you do that example search, there's going to be an annoying pop-up. You're only going to see that pop-up one time. When it pops up, put your email address in there and click submit. We're not going to spam you. We send out one email a month on a good month. Usually, it's every other month we send out an email. So you're not going to get spam. But once you log in, anytime you go into a park, the listing for a park, you'll see a big blue button in the top right-hand corner. It says write a review. Click that and go down and write a review. Within that review section, you'll have the ability to upload photos. You can do that. Or if you don't want to write a review and you just want to post photos, right above that blue button is a button that says add photos. Click it, a pop-up will pop up. pull the photo off of your hard drive or off your phone, upload it to the site, and there you go. And that's the easiest way to help people. And to your point, Bob, so we built this thing completely organically. We've never bought any advertising. We didn't have any special sponsors. We built this site totally organically. And I was actually looking at our site traffic today. Our site traffic is currently up. Over the last 7 days, it's double where it was a year ago. Over the last month, it's up 60% over where it was a year ago. And that's on course every year since we started. It essentially goes up nearly 60 to 70% every year. And so our traffic keeps going up and up and up. And as those numbers go up, more and more people engage with the site. But we'd encourage people who camp and RV a lot to really, help your other campers out. Post videos, post pictures. I'm a full-time RVer, and I just my goal is to make camping amazing. And I shared earlier, I think the way we do that is we get the right camper in the right campground at the right time in the proper equipment. Those first three things, we can all help one another with photos and reviews on parks.
Now you got videos too. So how do the videos work?
So the video, just use your cell phone. There's actually at the very top of the website, there's a link that shows you how to shoot a video. And you actually see me a few years ago when I was a little younger showing you how to do it. And all you do is you go out in the campground, like right where I'm at, and you just do a nice pan of here, walk up to the front, do a pan there, show the pools, and you put it in Dropbox, drop me with an email, and we'll do all the editing and put it back online. We put them on YouTube, so they're free to access. In fact, our YouTube channel generally gets about 120 to 200,000 views a month of people looking at boring videos of campgrounds because they actually want to see what their site's going to look like and what the park looks like.
What about now? John and I have done several videos with our campgrounds. We'll hop in a golf cart and go around with the people. Would something like that be of interest to you? A little bit more detailed than the phone one, because I think what you're trying to do is get the best picture possible, picture or video, so the consumer looking at it for the first time can get a very good understanding of what the park has to offer. Because John and I are out all the time, and as are many of our people.
As long as you post it on YouTube, just send us a link and we're happy to post it up. It is about that. It's sharing the information. So there's a lot of bloggers. I know Mark and Julie, Kyle from Driving and Vibing, when they do park reviews, they'll send us over a link to that YouTube video. We don't care if it's on our channel, just as long as it's going to be up, right? So we know that these trusted sources, yourselves included, are going to leave those videos up, and we'll include it on that park page. And then the park owners themselves, if you got any park owners that are watching, they can claim their listing and then post their own pictures, their own description, their own videos, and it just feeds itself. It's one of those things where you update that information, it's going to drive more and more people. In the last 30 days, we sent out 1 million leads, which would be phone calls or links out to campgrounds and RV parks across the U.S.
A million.
Pretty amazing. So, Bob, a couple good things came up when you and Mark were speaking, and I think we don't want to ignore our studio audience.
We don't miss anything.
But Audrey, here, you know what? Julie Bennett, I think, is writing a book because she wrote several chapters tonight. Okay, but
she's working on her second book.
Yep. It's a good way to pick up some good RV deals. Sadly, my dad bought a 4-month-old, blah, 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 et cetera. But Audrey said, they usually camp from April to October, like right up to, and they go anywhere from northern Maine down to Myrtle Beach. And she brings about 10 or 12 other coaches with her every weekend. Now, she says that as the wagon master, it's difficult to try to get last minute reservations for that number of people. But if you try to book them individually online and find no sites are available, give them a call. And she's been successful, like you, to reschedule several trips this spring that way. Okay. And Julie says, I'm chatty. Julie, even if you said you weren't, the letters that you've typed already tonight disprove that theory.
Everybody knows you're chatty, Julie.
So Mark, how would people that travel in packs, okay, how would they use your service? Would it be any different than an individual sole traveler?
No, they could do the same thing. And we actually have a flag on the back end for groups. And if you add, you'll see a keyword box once you do a search. If you add group on there, it'll filter down a little bit. That's not going to be always perfect, but we do have group tags so that parks that have group sites will pull up in there. It was Aubrey or Audrey?
Audrey.
Audrey, yeah. I mean, that's a totally different beast. You're moving that many rigs into a place. You could be staying at a park that has 40 sites. You're definitely going to have to make advanced reservations there. I'm just talking about the sole flyers like myself who have the flexibility to go out, which I would imagine. I actually don't know. Do you know the numbers? What are the numbers in our industry? How many people travel solo versus travel with one or more coaches? Do you guys have any idea on those numbers?
Do you know, Mark?
I don't know.
No,
I have no idea.
You know what I see, and Bob can verify this. Where we live in New England, especially in Maine, and it can't happen at least until July 21st, when Canada, or when the province of Quebec goes on its construction break, everybody goes on vacation at the same time, and they all come to Old Orchard Beach. You can tell the Canadians at the beach because the men all have Speedos on. Okay. But they travel in groups of 4 and 5, right, Bob? You very seldom see Quebec.
They're not there this year. They can't come down.
Yeah, they won't be coming down this year.
Well, there might be, July 21st is the next scheduled date that they're going to review it or make it available. But they travel.
If I was Canadian, I would travel in a group too coming to the U.S. We're nuts here, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah. Well, they all speak French, and some only speak French. But down in certain areas that that cater to them, the signs are bilingual. So
Julie mentioned come across a lot of solo women, and there are a lot of solo women out there. And give a little plug to Janine Pettit. She just launched Girl Camper magazine. And it'll be out in print in July. And we took a half-page ad out because a lot of our dealers do very well with single women coming in for their RVs and getting them set up and what have you. Chris Andrew joined. Sorry, Chris says, sorry I'm late. Just finished at work. Nuts. Can't keep up. That's every dealer. Chris owns Hemlock Hill down in Connecticut. And his family years ago did own a campground. But every dealer, I saw some pictures posted today by some dealers out of state, and their lots were virtually empty. Chris, I don't know, did you see Andy Heck's picture that he posted today from Alpenhaus? And that lot, that whole side lot next to the New York Thruway was empty, absolutely empty.
You mentioned this. Julie mentioned the single women. I think the outdoors and our industry as a whole is very. I don't even want to use the word inclusive because that defines something. It's just accessible. You can go. It doesn't matter your socioeconomic background, your race, your ethnicity, any of that. You can buy an RV and you can go outdoors and you can enjoy it. It's something that is coming more and more. Obviously, it's big in the news right now with BLM and all that type of stuff, which is significant. But when we look at our industry, and your dealers could probably speak to this, they're not seeing a lot of, well, they are, but they're not seeing primarily middle-aged white people buying RVs. They're seeing the United States buy RVs, our culture as a whole buying RVs and exploring the outdoors. And it's a big thing, and it's something to consider as an industry, that it's a huge opportunity for us. And our industry is very welcoming to that. And that's why you see a lot of single women. You also see a lot of gay and lesbian couples that travel full-time in RVs because they're able to feel comfortable. Because when you get into campground, as I think John mentioned already, you could have $1 million coach on one side and a $20,000 trailer on the other side, and you all hang out and say hello. It's very welcoming.
Because usually it's the guy with the $20,000 pop-up or travel trailer that's helping out the guy in the $1 million coach because he doesn't know what the hell is underneath any of those things.
Andy, he's talking about you, Andy. So you got to stand up and defend your friends there. Andy does some really great videos on Prevost coaches, how to drive them, and
Didn't Andy just do a video? Didn't Andy just? Oh, I just went off.
Yeah,
no, you're there.
Yeah,
I am.
He's done some great videos on Prevost. And now, speaking of that, because obviously somebody with a Prevost tends to go to a pretty high-end resort. Do you hit the high-end resorts, like the Class A resorts out in California or Florida? Are they also part of your database?
Yeah, we have. So like outdoor resorts, we've actually done projects with them out in it's Cathedral City, right outside of Palm Springs, and we've stayed there. I've stayed there for about a month on, and usually in their off season, right when everybody's left, we go into those places, enjoy them. Some of the Class A resorts they won't let us in because we have a fifth wheel, but we did a project out in Palm Beach at Palm Beach Motor Coach Resort with Mark and Julie when they opened up that new resort. We did a big old grand opening party and a bunch of video productions to really kick them off and sell those sites. So we've seen those and been in them, and they're absolutely beautiful. And it depends on where you're at, right? So it's one of those experiences when you think about the big Prevost coach and those folks that are traveling, is when you go camping, it's what you bring along that creates the experience versus where you're at. I mean, look at this background. I'm paying $40 a night at this park. I mean, this is unbelievable, right? It's $40 a night. I mean, so that's the amazing thing about camping. And there's some people who are looking at me laughing because they're actually camping up at the base of that hill for free, right? So, you can go from free to $40 to $100. It just depends on what you want.
John wants to show you Pittsburgh, New Hampshire.
Well, but on the other side here, this cord's not long enough, is the start of the Connecticut River, right up.
Really?
The Connecticut River is, I mean, just look at that. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. Hey, I got a question for you guys.
Wait, before you do that, Riney just joined. Riney's with Bradford RV.
Right.
And he said the same thing. He's also late leaving because the lot was so busy. And so at Bradford RV, Brad Morse kind of had a monopoly on our Boston TV stations. He was on Channel 5. Was it last night or Monday night? And he was on Channel 25 a couple of weeks ago on Channel 10. So Bradford RV got their fair share of television exposure in
You were interviewed for Chronicle, and they're doing a special half-hour show on outdoor recreation. Yep. You're going to be featured on that. We don't know the release date yet, but we will know. But I got to ask a question. We've got at least two dealers here. I see Chris and Riney. When the new people that are coming in, first of all, Chris, just tell me, both of you guys tell me, what percentage of your business that you've written in the last month or say 6 weeks has been first-time RVers, first-time RV buyers? Tell me that. And secondly, have they said to you that they are looking to go to a campground or they're looking to rough it and do, the BLM land, Bureau of Land Management? Got a Bureau of Land Management.
Well, you guys are on the East Coast, though. So are those dealers on the East Coast?
Yeah.
So I would bet their buyers are looking to stay in campgrounds because you really don't have a lot of dispersed camping on the East Coast.
No.
Or go into the mountains up in Maine and these are the backwoods here. I mean, I'm telling you.
But I'm not sure they even do that though, because I don't hear a lot of people talking about. Now, when you say dispersed camping, is that the same as boondocking or?
Same idea, yeah. In the Forest Service, they call it dispersed. Basically, you can go along any sort of Forest Service road, and as long as you camp within 100 feet of it, you can camp there for anywhere from 14 to 16 days for free. And so there'll be these really well-graded Forest Service roads, and you could drive any size coach in there, and there'll be, because so many people have camped in the areas, a really nice defined camping area that you can pull off on. For example, I mentioned the I always pronounce it wrong, Mogollon Rim, which is the hills above Phoenix there. There is dispersed camping where you can back your unit up to the cliff. So a cliff that looks like this one behind me, and you can camp right at the edge of it. I'd probably back off the edge of it a little bit if I'm camping, but that's the type of experience you can have. The trick is, though, you need to know what you're doing, right? You need to know. You need to have some information. You need to have some information about your unit and staying off grid and also taking care of that space that you're in. But it's become very popular. A lot of YouTube channels focus on the boondocking experience because it is so adventurous. But we've done surveys through Campground Views, and we find that only on average, about 15% of the audience ever boondocks. And of that 15%, a smaller percentage of them do it as like their primary escape. Most people do stay in some sort of campground. A lot of them target national parks, state parks, designated Forest Service campgrounds, but then your private parks also. And during this COVID crisis, obviously the private parks, they saved a lot of full-time RVers that stayed at state parks and stuff because, the public parks essentially shut down, but the private parks were able to fill that gap.
Mark, are you at a full hookup?
Yeah, the thing about our coach is our holding tanks are tiny. Like if you use the toilet once, they're full. So we require sewer and water. And then we have a tank. So here's the thing, giving you a backdrop. When we decided to do this,
too? How about solar too? You got solar too?
We do not have solar. So part of the conversation my wife and I had when we went full time was she was into it, but she didn't want to rough it at all. So we have a tankless water heater. She can take a 45-minute shower, and we always stay with hookups. And the other trick is I need solid internet for my job. So I need to be in an area where I've got good connectivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for those people who have joined late, Mark is the founder and CEO of Campground Views. He's also full-timer with his wife, and now I saw the family picture with one son, but now you got two. So tell us, you got a new addition to the RVing family.
Yeah, our daughter Melania is 9 months old, and she's already trying to walk. We're probably going to have to put a GPS tracker on her, just judging by how crazy she is as a little baby. So it's going to be an adventure here over the next 5 years. Our son is 7, and he just got like his 50th junior ranger badge from Capitol Reef National Park, and we homeschool. Been doing it for 11 years, and I know it's funny. I was actually having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and I said, people.
Time out. You have a daughter named Melania. Don't tell me your son's name is Donald.
Yeah, no, he was born before Trump, so we named him CJ.
Okay.
My wife's name is Katerina, and we wanted to find another name that had that Russian, that A on the end of it. So we were going through the names, and we figured Melania Trump is a beautiful name, and we believe that they're doing a great job, and we wanted to name our daughter Melania.
There you go.
So, Mark, let me ask you this. We were talking before we went on the air, and I want you to bring it out now because the last 10 minutes of our shows are always crazy because it's like a blitzkrieg of questions. Yep. Tell our group the story of your moose safari.
So, like John, we had heard that you have to go out in the evening to find mooses or meese. We call them meeses because when they're a group, they're not a moose, they're a meese, right? Yeah. So we wanted to find out a group of meeses, and that's whatever. And we couldn't find a damn moose. Like, we went everywhere; they were nowhere to be found. And so we finally said, "Screw it!" We went home to eat some dinner, and I ended up choking on a piece of chicken. And it couldn't get it out. So I said to my wife, Katerina, I'm like, you got to take me to a hospital. This ain't coming out. I could at least breathe enough to speak. And so she gets in the truck. She starts driving. I'm freaking out because I'm usually the one driving. So I'm now the passenger and I'm choking. She almost runs over 3 moose on the way to the hospital. And on the 4th one, because she jerked so hard, it popped the chicken out. And we were able to go home after seeing 4 mooses on that trip.
So you did see 4 moose.
4 mooses.
Not necessarily in the order that in the format that you want to see them in, but it was good. Because as soon as this show is over, in fact, I may put the slide in about another minute or so, because I got to unhook the water, unhook the power, put the slide in, and then we're heading up 10 miles to Canada, right to the border. And I'm just wondering if any of our audience, especially our New England-based audience, has done the moose hunting thing because. You know what? You got to get away. From
I have another moose story for you, and it's not from New England. It's actually outside of Yellowstone. So we're staying at this campground, and our son, this was last year, he was 6. And he's sitting at the window eating breakfast, and he starts yelling, "Moose, moose!" And we're like, what's he talking about? Let's ignore the kid, right? He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's like, "Moose, moose!" And we're like, "What, CJ? What?" And he's like, "Moose!" We look out the window. There's a freaking moose running around the campground right outside of our trailer. A thunderstorm had scared it into the campground. He got locked inside of the fences and was just running around the trailer. So after that, we always believe CJ when he yells something random that there might be something random outside the window.
So if you have another son, you're going to name him Wrangler?
Wrangler? It depends on where he's born at.
Oh, Wrangler.
So earlier you alluded to this 360 VR videos. Is that something that just you are doing, or do you have contract people doing it, or campgrounds doing it themselves? How do you plan on integrating that into your array of services?
Yeah, so actually, I'll give you guys are about to get the real story on this. So March 12th, I was standing in front of the largest angel investor group in Southern California. Go look at the stock market on March 12th. It was the day it dropped 10%, 15% or whatever. Worst day in history to pitch investors. They love the idea. They love the concept, but we had COVID hit. So we went through COVID and just tried to bootstrap our way through. And I'm actually out on the road right now capturing those 360 videos, and we're working a few other angles to get them. But our goal is to capture as many campgrounds as we possibly can, because we now have the technology to embed the booking experience into that 360. And we're actively speaking to investors right now because we need a little bit of capital to really do this thing big. But our goal is to unlock the camping experience by allowing people to do what they want to do, is to actually see the campsites. We believe that that's
the one. Unlock, Mark. Describe that.
So think about that new camper who just bought that RV. After they buy that RV, their first question is, where do we go camping? And they have no idea. Yep. And they go to Google and they start reading reviews, and they end up at a bad place and they have a bad experience and they never go back. Now replace that. They buy a new RV and they say, oh, let's go actually see the campgrounds. They can actually virtually tour the campground and say, honey, this is the place we're going to go. That's the site we want. We're going to book that site. And then they show up at that campground. It looks exactly like they did in the 360 experience. Now you've had a true camping experience where this person knows what they're getting into, has proper expectations for that stay, and then the park can live up to those expectations, creating that good experience that they go on and share from there. I personally believe that allowing people to physically see or virtually see the campground is the game changer in our industry.
So virtually truth in advertising.
Exactly. It removes all the hurdles. And when you think about that, it also creates the first real OTA in the space, because we're not looking to start a booking engine. We'll integrate with any booking engine. We're looking to provide that value add, that video on top of it that allows people to actually book the site. As of right now, we have 150 parks filmed. We should have about 500. If we don't raise any additional capital, we'll have 500 filmed by the end of the summer. If we do get some additional capital, we'll have 2,500 parks filmed by the end of the summer.
All right, so you said something interesting there about integrating with their campground management software, and you're a tech guy to begin with. So are you saying that a campground can integrate Campground Views into their campground management software and offer that as a service when people call up or have it available on their site?
Yeah, so traditionally over the last few years, we've done there's 360 videos on Campground Views right now, and we've implemented those for parks, and parks have measured 244% increases in online reservations. Why? Because the person doesn't need to call anymore. They can actually tour the campground, see the site they're going to book, and then go to, manually go over and book it. That's the experience right now. What we're adding on is we're actually integrating the booking within that. So a campground can have us do the 360, contact their reservation company and say, hey, integrate with Mark. We're not taking any money out of that stream. We're not taking a percentage of the deal. We're just providing it as a tool that allows those people to then see those sites and go book it.
I'm gonna send you Andy's contact information, if that's all right with you, Andy, because Andy has done a lot of 360 videos, and he's done them on his inside the Prevost coach, or when he gets to a luxury resort and what have you. And he's a tech guy from way back when. I know from a tech standpoint, you guys would probably enjoy the conversation. But I think you're onto that, and that is where the technology is going.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm all in on it. I've got basically everything that we own and have into this business, because we believe that we can fundamentally change it in a good way. I've been a full-time RVer for 11 years, and I mean, look at the backdrop again. This lifestyle is the single most amazing lifestyle you can have in the United States. You're able to go live and experience our amazing nation, Canada, Mexico, wherever you go in an RV. I believe the more people that do that, they're going to be happier, healthier, they're going to have more enjoyable lives. If I can help them do that, I'm all in on it.
Andy said, fine, go ahead. You can share his contact info with Mark.
Thank you, Andy.
Andy said, okay, thank you, Andy. And I'll send you links to his new series on Prevost. He's on part 2 just the other night. Was it last night? Yeah, it was last. I think it was last night. It might have been Monday night. I can't remember the days run together here. But he's got part 3 coming up, and I'll give you his website also, where he's got a lot of these videos. But now, what camera are you shooting? If we're asking proprietary information, just tell us to shut up. We're Italian. We got thick skin. So, it's a nice motorhome. What's that, a Bounder? Go behind you?
No, it's not a Bounder.
No.
Yeah, it's Bounder. It says Bounder on the back. Yeah.
It's a Petro. You dared to question my knowledge of on national TV. You questioned my knowledge of the industry.
It was just a setup. It was a setup. Andy and Bob were talking before they got on, and they said at the 52-minute mark, have something go by, and I'll fake like I know what it is. And Mark, credibility that you had is gone now because you set me up to get beat up by Zagami.
Walter Swenson,
hey,
Walter,
look who just showed up.
Rick Kessler from RV Business just joined.
Hey, Rick.
Just signed up. Rick.
He's only 55 minutes late.
Did you bring dessert, Rick? I mean, it's bad enough you show up after dinner, for Christ's sake. You probably should have some strawberry shortcake for us or something else. That guy shows up with 5 minutes left in the show.
Oh boy!
I have a question for you guys. Do you always beat up your attendees as they jump in the?
Okay. We beat up our fans. We beat up our guests. Yeah.
We charged Walter's got on an international broadcast. Picked up our daughter from the airport. Oh, you let her fly, Rick? Okay, nice father.
Yeah.
So Elkhart and gone and picked her up.
Walter Swenson's a techie. He's with Dell Technologies, so he's our engineer. He tells us all the stuff that's supposed to work. And Jerry's our kind of our senior mechanic. He works on his big rig and at Major's RV Service Center. Walter says VR and AR. Excellent. What the hell's AR?
Virtual
augmented reality.
Oh, augmented.
Augmented. I thought that meant something else.
Okay, so what are you shooting with?
I'll actually hold on that one. We're utilizing some not really special cameras, but special techniques to make it happen. There's actually some processes that have to happen on the back end, and I've talked to too many people in the industry to kind of give that out right now.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. We appreciate that. We got 3 minutes left, so looking ahead, because you've done so well in the 11 years, and you got a great site. What's the future hold for you? Besides the VR, is that the hot thing for that right now?
That's our entire future. We're also about to launch something called Outdoor Business Pros. It's going to be a web-based training platform for park owners and operators. The thing that's happened here with COVID is all the traditional trade shows have vanished. And so we're going to create this online education experience that happens on an ongoing basis. You don't need to do a virtual show, one-time thing. You can actually create an online experience. And so your RV dealers out there, that's a big thing to think about is as the trade show environment changes, you need to start thinking about how you create those ongoing virtual engagements. And so we're doing that. So that'll be outdoorbusinesspros.com. We're building it up right now. That'll be for owners and operators to give them the skills and techniques they need to better operate their parks. And so between the VR and that, I think we're going to be pretty freaking busy.
It sounded. Did we get any? Andy says, "Good show, gentlemen." Audrey says, "Yes, they do." I'm not sure. What I'm
agreeing with something that I said.
Oh, okay.
She was agreeing that it wasn't a bounder.
Yeah. Hey, are there any Lego buses coming by, or Tiffin products coming by you, or Winnebago?
There's a Tiffin right over there across the way. You can't see it though, but yeah.
Lego bus or something like that. But you know what?
Julie says Gross Bentry Campground near Grand Teton is a sure bet for seeing moose in or near the campground. No hookups.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, look we're going to see the moose within 5 minutes. We'll take pictures. My camera's been charging. My phone's been charging. And Mark, we want to certainly thank you, especially for remembering at the last minute that you were in a different time zone than you thought you were, and being able to make our show.
I appreciate you having me. It was nice to talk to you again, and I hope we provided some value to your viewers.
You sure did, Great. Mark. Thanks very much. All right, folks, we will see you next week. And next week we get Mike Perry from Dealer Resources Group with all the new toys and fancy gadgets for you to take with you. Good night now. We'll see you down the road.
Let's go looking for moose. See ya.
Go get the moose.
Yeah.